I'm just telling you what I saw.
Danny's ghost. My dead wife is not haunting this house.
Oddity. I'll be honest, guys, I don't really care about twisters. I thought the first one was hokey, and I'm not a big fan of disaster movies to begin with, plus the last one I saw was awful. Moonfall. Ugh, God, it's so bad. So instead, I found this indie movie playing in theaters around me before it finds its way to Shudder soon, and what an absolute delight this was. Probably the most fun I've had in a horror movie so far this year. I just really enjoyed it. I went into this movie barely knowing anything about it. I just knew the general plot, but I hadn't seen any trailers or any background information at all. And turns out that this is an indie film, very low budget, and is also a partial bottle film to boot. Hell yeah, I like all of that. That's a lot of fun right there. With most of the action taking place in one very tiny space in a admittedly interesting looking house, there's plenty of things for it to do. This film comes to us from Ireland and features some wonderful acting, admittedly creepy atmosphere, and several effective jump scares. I'm not really a fan of jump scares, but these are very well done, I must say. A lot really works within this movie's favor, but it never leans too far into being shocking or upsetting. That might be a problem for some people who like the more extreme aspect, but taking it for what it is, it's still fun. This is an enjoyable horror movie that takes itself just serious enough to elicit a fun time with some moments of dark comedy sprinkled throughout. It has a few faults here and there and just a few nitpicks overall, but what it provides is a wonderful romp with some fun surprises and plenty of creep factor. So, with that description, what is this movie even about? You guys probably never heard of it, so let's jump into that. Oddity follows a blind woman who curates an antique store whose twin sister is murdered. A year later, she starts to suspect that her sister's husband and new girlfriend may have had something to do with the sister's death after the alleged murderer, a patient at the psychiatric hospital the husband works at, is killed as well. So she pays them a visit with a cursed object to exact revenge. It sounds way more complicated than it really is. I'm probably doing a terrible job describing that, but hey, it's a supernatural revenge thriller with light mystery elements, all packaged together in kind of a ghost story. It's just very interesting. A lot of this movie hinged on several bits. The acting is probably the strongest part of that though, especially with Carolyn Bracken having to play double duty as both her dead twin Danny and the blind psychic Darcy, complete with different mannerisms and wigs for each woman. The amount of emotion that she put into these roles is fantastic, especially from both ends. It's a really good job, and for the most part, I did think that these were two different actresses. I found it a little weird that all the characters were saying, oh, they're twins, their faces look exactly the same. But hey, it is the same actress, and yeah, upon thinking back at it, yeah, it's the same woman playing both sides, but she plays them so differently that they're both unique. I really like that. She's both charming and terrified as Danny, and yet cold, calculating, and amazingly quick-witted as Darcy, and also just extremely emotional too in both ends. Just really good work there. Matching her energy is Gwillem Lee as the husband/widower, Dr. Timmis. He's enjoyable and at the same time potentially menacing, especially later on in the movie where you're not quite sure where he's standing or what he's doing. He's very charming at first, and then later on you're like, wait, what? He's fun. I like him a lot. His girlfriend Yana, is played by Carolyn Menton, is also a ton of fun too for the couple scenes that we get her with. I'm surprised we get to see so much of her as well. She has some extended sequences and she's just done so well and is just absolutely over everything. She just exudes mean girl energy, and I love it. Also, shout out to Tadig Murphy, who plays the psychiatric patient Olin Boole, who, surprisingly, is a character from the director's own 2013 short film, How Olin Lost His Eye. Because yes, the character has one glass eye. The story is different in this film, but it's still really cool to see that tie-in. And he does such a fun job portraying the admittedly creepy dude who's also trying to act sincere, or maybe not. not. Ooh, no spoilers here, but he's a ton of fun in his scenes as well. Also, Tadig Murphy actually has a glass eye. So they found a real actor with a glass eye to portray the character. That's awesome. I love that. So cool. This is also one of those movies that absolutely revels in practical effects. From the man-sized wooden doll, which takes up most of the movie, to ghost makeups and creepy moments with shadow play and creepy cursed items and props. I have to say, great work by the effects artist Paul McDonnell. Some seriously good work here. There's even an Easter egg in Darcy's antique store for the director's previous film, the bunny from the 2020 movie Caveat. I feel like I've seen that film, but the summary I was reading and the pictures I saw online aren't really ringing any bells, so maybe I didn't see it and maybe saw something else. I don't know. I'll have to check that one out maybe. I know both Oddity and Caveat were filmed in the same converted barn, so that's cool. I really do love Easter eggs like that, and it kind of seems like the director is trying to make his own little in-franchise universe here, which is pretty cool. I'll give him that. I like that idea. With these little things, it's fun. Oddity was written and directed by Damian McCarthy, and it's only his second film, not counting the short films he's done, the first being Caveat back in 2020. I'd say that's quite the accomplishment given the low budget and the cramped location to shoot in. Somehow he makes it work with absolutely fantastic shadow play and some wonderfully effective jump scares that are just as jarring as they are creepy. I think it helps that the location is so cramped. It's essentially 3 rooms. We have the bedroom, the living room, and the balcony overhanging them all that you could look over and see down. There is the courtyard, but barely anything happens in there. You immediately get the sense of the layout of this location from the opening scene, and it's so smart that we can follow that immediately and know where the characters are at any given moment, at least when they're at the house. There are instances where they go to Darcy's store or they go to the insane asylum, things like that, but most of the action is at the house. It's very much the focal point. Wonderful work there. Now, as much as I'm gushing about this movie, it isn't perfect. Like I said at the beginning, it does have a few issues here and there. The pacing in some points can be a bit slow, especially at the end, but that's more of a nitpick, honestly, and I don't mind slow burns. I wouldn't call this that, but it does slow down at times. One stylistic plot point didn't really gel with me fully, but I understand why it happened. I can't go into it because of spoilers, so sorry. The location, as much as I've been praising it, also has a few weird inconsistencies with it. Like, it's this giant house that is essentially 3 or 4 thin apartments stacked together into a square with a courtyard in the middle, but there's only one entrance and exit to this particular segment. We don't really get to explore the other 3 sides at all, just this one apartment, and it's never fully explained as to why we don't, besides the couple was renovating it. There's even one point where a character tries to open what I believe is a door that would lead to these other segments, and it just doesn't open, and it's never explained as to why, so I don't know. I'm just gonna assume they didn't get to the renovation over there. Okay. One room also has a weird fixture as well that I don't fully understand the purpose of outside of plot reasonings. It's really weird. The movie is also a little predictable at times, but in a smart, ooh, I called that kind of way, instead of like knowing immediately what's going to happen from the get-go. I can see some people getting annoyed too that the film isn't that creepy as it, quote, should be, or doesn't try to do anything particularly new or novel. But I would argue that this is a fun movie overall that uses what it can to have effective jumpy moments, some tense moments where you expect something to happen only to get surprised with something else, and it's just fun. It's a very fun, well-made movie. That's all it needs to be and all it tries to be. It's not something that's gonna stick with you and scare you on your way home. It's something to get excited in the moment with and then leave the theater smiling. That's all it is. It's fun, and you can have movies like that. Maybe some more could have been done with a bigger budget, but overall, I really really enjoyed this movie, and I think a lot of you guys would love it as well. It is criminal that it's flying under the radar right now thanks to these giant releases around it. Yeah, I mean, you got Longlegs, Twisters, fucking Deadpool. Not fair. This movie's getting smashed and barely anyone's gonna see it probably because of all these releases around it. Sucks. So good too, especially because this was ready back in March. Oh well. I'd say if you can't get tickets to the movie you want, like if Deadpool sells out or something, get a ticket to this instead. You're gonna have an absolutely great time. I can almost guarantee it. And if not, it should be streaming on Shudder in a few weeks to a month. There's no release date yet, but generally when films go into theaters before they go into Shudder, it's only about a couple of weeks. So we'll see. Caveat is also on Shudder if you want to check that out before watching this. I like the Easter eggs. That's cool. Ultimately though, Oddity gets an 8.5 out of 10 from me. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for another one. I know everyone wanted to go see Twisters, but I'm like, I don't really care about disaster movies all that much. They're fun. They can be if they're done well, but I know it's just gonna be a CG effects extravaganza, and I'm kind of tired. I see that with every Marvel movie and every other big name movie. It's just CG stuff. I want more practical, and having a low budget film like this that is centered in one location using practical puppets, items, and makeup, love it. Great. And maybe not the most unique story, but it's still a lot of fun and done so stylistically well that it's just really interesting to follow along and see where the characters are going and see what happens, or if this character is gonna do this thing. What about this one? That guy's acting weird. What's gonna happen to him? What did that guy see? It's just a lot of fun, and this movie's so good at building anticipation. I remember early on, we're watching a flashback scene where we know something bad is gonna happen and we're waiting for it to happen, and it just keeps dragging it out. Like, I'm expecting a sudden jump scare from the corner of the room, like this woman is talking and she's about to just get tackled or something, and it never happens. Instead, we get more of a long, drawn out sequence where she's wandering around and you know something's going to happen, or maybe it won't. Ooh, and you're just sitting there, the tension's building, and it's just so cool and so much fun. I think it helps also knowing the fates of some characters because it is a flashback, so I already know kind of what's going to happen here. I really like that. I think it's so cool and so unique. So many other movies need to attempt that. It's just really fun. That's all this movie is dumb fun that is just really well made. I can't wait to see more of this guy's work. I think I'm gonna have to go back and check out Caveat. I genuinely don't remember if I've actually seen it or not, so I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, what did you guys think? Did you actually see this? Did you even know it was out? Is it playing in a theater near you? Let me know in the comments below. After that, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss a video, and yeah, that's it. Have a great day, and if you're not, have a better one. See ya.
I'm just a ghost in your stereo, the fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just a lost song, and I'm just a ghost in your stereo.